Tim Walz and JD Vance went head-to-head in their first ever vice presidential debate, broadcast live on CBS. The debate was praised for being much more substantive than the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump just last month, with a much deeper dive into policy issues rather than personal jabs, which characterized the Harris-Trump debate. Vance is looking much more comfortable in the setting than Walz, with the Democratic candidate stumbling, mumbling, and making some big mistakes. From the outset, Tim Walz looked very nervous and fumbled the entire first question. Both men were asked if they would support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran. Walz stumbled through his first sentence with very choppy words resembling Kamala Harris's slow start to the presidential debate last month. Shockingly, he then confused Iran with Israel twice, at one point referring to Israel and its proxies.
He was nervous.
The New York Times jumped on this mistake and fact-checked Walz. Tim Walz also was then
trying to
grilled
lie.
about discrepancies in his
out.
Tiananmen Square claims, which have attracted a lot of backlash. He failed to specifically answer the time discrepancy question.
Now, this shit was
You
funny.
said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China.
Walz then made a shocking word stumble saying he made friends with school shooters.
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look.
JD Vance impressed and did what many hoped Donald Trump would have done in his presidential debate and fact-checked the anchors on the question of immigration.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
But
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
But it was ultimately JD Vance's confidence in debating, knowledge of policy, and presentation that won him the night.
Okay, all right, let's break that down, shall we? Let's break that down. Let's break that down.
And the gang keep calling me, can't escape the voices cause they all in me, all with me, go.
That's that nigga, you know what I'm saying? He's doing his thing.
Welcome back to the channel. G-Mac back with some thoughts, with some opinions, with some reactions. Like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell if you like the content. With that said, let's take this walk. And one thing I think people can agree on is that the vice presidential debate was much, much better than the presidential debate. Trump's inability to articulate his points in a non-off-putting manner. Kamala's clear to sensible and rational people use of an earpiece, staring off into space, trying to focus on her directions given and not giving into her Kamala-isms. For me, these were the downfalls of the first debate. But this one, now this was much more entertaining. Yeah, like most people on both sides, I thought JD Vance won the debate. But both of them are funny-looking dudes. And both of them had moments where I thought their attempts to deceive were very, very apparent. And it was the methods of operation for me that were comedy. I mean, they kept saying JD Vance was slick. They kept calling him slick. And they were saying he was supposed to capture the essence of a hillbilly family man. And you know what? He was out there looking like a slick hillbilly, for sure. I mean, he had the snake oil salesman smirk on the entire night. And I mean, look, who would actually be surprised if they found out that JD Vance had, you know, a couple of cousins out there who he may have or may have not played house with, you know? But as far as Tim Walz, I mean, what the entire fuck? That man couldn't stick to a game plan to save his life. I mean, he tried to be fake, right? He tried to avoid questions. He tried to lie. He tried to be extremely passionate, you know, as a grandpa, as a serviceman, as a politician, who, by the way, in the entire night looked like he was trying to run for governor of Minnesota again. What the And in the end, he just couldn't help but crack. When they asked him about getting the dates wrong in China and possibly lying on record, a la Kamala, he just simply tried to avoid the question. And then he went on this impassioned speech about nothing. And when the moderator pressed him about actually not answering the question, he pretty much said, I misspoke, fuck it. What do you want me to do? And I'm paraphrasing, but that was another difference between the last debate and this debate. Last debate, one person was held accountable. This debate, both were held accountable. Because the last debate, the moderators were a black woman and a beta white male, which means that we knew who they were going to hold accountable and who they weren't. It was predictable, and it happened. This debate, the moderators were two white women facing off against, let's say, the patriarchy. Yeah, those motherfuckers weren't going to get away with a thing. However, the theme of both debates were kind of the same as it pertains to how both candidates answered questions. When faced with questions of past blunders and or flip-flops, the Trump ticket, they addressed and they acknowledged those past blunders and or flip-flops and just kind of dismissed them and downplayed them. The Harris ticket, well, they just tried to avoid the question completely. Like, they didn't even give a fuck about staying on subject. It was like, was 1 + 1 blue? They just tried to turn the attention to how bad Trump, a former president whose 4 years was actually better than theirs, how bad it would be for him to run the country again. Or they just, defaulted back to their upbringing. And again, during the first debate, Kamala was able to do so unabashedly and without interruption. But because this debate was more about policy and the candidates were fact-checked and prompted to answer questions, we got a better view of what bipartisan may look like. But more importantly, what policies may work, have worked, and what policies wouldn't. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. And with that said, hopefully you've been entertained and informed while passing this precious time that we have. And hopefully I've earned your sub. This has been Doing It for GP. Till next time.
Never dare me, I spit the truth. Are you aware? Fear-driven niggas get the boot. All of you squares couldn't fit up in my circle. All of us rare and will hurt you severe. Slow your roll, nigga. Patience is a virtue.